Esports. It's in the game.
Good evening everyone and welcome back to RPM Season 6. It's time for round 5 tonight, already at the first street circuit of the calendar. Well, I guess Albert Park's a street circuit as well, so the second street circuit of the season. Ahead of the second sprint race next week. I'm back tonight. I had the week off last week. I get the feeling that's a little bit loud. I had the week off last week, wasn't very well, and admittedly, I'm still not 100%. Those regular viewers amongst you might pick that up. So hopefully things will be okay. I'm sure there will be. Yeah, so round 5 already, 5 weeks in, absolutely flying through the longer calendar this season. As I said, before the Monza sprint next week, which I'm looking forward to. We didn't race there last season, and plenty of laps around Monza as opposed to qualifying will be good. But tonight we have normal service, a 18-minute qualifying session around the streets of Singapore, followed by a 31-lap race. Let's take a look then at the drivers' standings. We've got the lobby filling up nicely. We've got 19 drivers tonight, so not quite the full grid, just missing Goey tonight and Alfred Tauri, but nothing can be done. So after last week then, I forget the race order, to be honest, because I had it on but I wasn't commentating myself, so I didn't pick up on many of the changes. But Riker, Matty and Natalie are the top 3 still. RODO is there or thereabouts. Obviously Natalie was a race down to begin with, so she's done well to stay with that pack, but Riker is slowly extending that margin. So definitely things to look out for those 3 or 4 drivers, even Dino as well, and Schmidt after a podium last week, P3, that brings him into contention for P3 overall as well. Plenty of scope for change, given that we're so early on in the season. Continuing then, Danos, Snellhenk, Jones and Puggy round off the top 10. Puggy just 1 point shy of the 50-point mark. And then we begin to work down the table. Leaky, Spivey, Gorham, Potner unable to bring out too many major points so far in the opening rounds. And Phil in P15, unfortunate for him, last week had a qualifying incident with a driver that is no longer with us, and he has therefore been replaced by a new driver who is called Scooter Clem, and he will be driving for McLaren, so he's joining my team, a straight swap for that other driver, so he will fill in the standings, and unfortunately he will start on 0 points, as you might expect. Goey missing tonight, so he won't get any more points, only 10 for him, and Frax has had another disappointing start to the season, unfortunately. Same for Ivor and an organic. I'm sure they'll get some points on the board sooner rather than later. The constructors then, that means that Haas extend their advantage, the champions from last season in First Division. Matty and Leakey continuing that job so far this season. 10 points the gap to Red Bull in P2, and then the gap really opens up for P3. The fight between Mercedes, Alpine and Williams well and truly on, just 4 points in it for third place. As it stands, it'll be quite an ask for any of those teams to catch up with the Red Bulls and Hasses, granted they continue their early form. Then another gap extending down, and similarly for 6th place, 3 teams in the fight. Ferrari, not common to see them so far down the table. AlphaTauri and McLaren, similar to real life, struggling down there at the bottom. At least they've scored some points. But that battle for P6 is again really only on for those 3 teams. The ulti is then the last table to take a look at before the session gets underway. It's timed well this week. Hopefully we start seeing some green lights. I believe we've got everybody in, so I don't see why not. A few unstable connections there. I'm seeing Spivey and Puggy struggling a little bit. Matty and Callum the same, but it shouldn't be too bad. So, all tiers. Massive gaps, again, as you might expect, appearing between P2 and P3. By the end of the week, it could be over 100 points. The gap to 4th, McLaren, not too big though. And unfortunately, if you look down there at the bottom in P10, AlphaTauri, the only team remaining in double digits. So Puggy's got a big job on his hand tonight to try and score as many points as he can. He did well. Obviously, he won't be qualifying as usual, so he'll start at the back of the grid. That doesn't do himself any favours, but he's been used to doing that for quite some time. And again, I like to try and push the boat out and try and time this well. It looks as though we're like 20 seconds off, so that'll give me a chance to check out if anything's going on in the chat. Let's have a look. Got Inorganic and Kieran with us. Evening to you too. Thanks for filling in for me last week. That was good. Yeah, good luck McLaren's, Callum Inorganic. So good luck for the family there. Wardy backing Ferrari as you would expect. But as we said, in the first division standings, they're not doing too well all the way down toward the bottom of the table. And Kieran with some support for his co-commentator Jones from Premier Division. A new little partnership brewing there, which is good to see. And just like that, we're loading in. The drivers preparing themselves for some high-speed racing tonight around a very, very tricky high-endurance circuit. It feels like you never really have a chance to breathe. There's that one straight after, what is it, turn 5 or something. It's about your only room for rest. Other than that, the corners are coming at you fairly quickly. In the meantime, I'm going to bring up the track map. And some nice news to bring you all today as well. We've got a new feature in Smith's telemetry. So Smith is racing tonight. And let's take a look at the session data then. So what we've got, I haven't set it up on stream unfortunately, so I can't show anybody. But he's made us a nice striking distance, AWS style, powered by a Race League Manager. As it says, the battle forecast, so the RPM battle forecast, let's call it that. I can select 2 drivers. It's obviously going to be testing for me. I haven't used it before, but I can select 2 drivers and compare their previous few lap times, and this device should be able to predict the pace difference and hit us with when it thinks we'll see some action. So it won't be necessarily very useful in the early stages of the race, but as the drivers settle in to the event, and for example when people are in and around some pit windows, we'll be able to see the gap. There's also a pit predictor. Not a clue how that's going to work. But that is for the race, not for qualifying. Current weather conditions, it looks as though we may be okay on the rain front. Potentially some might come toward the back end of the race. There's a 62% chance of light rain after 30 minutes, which I guess will be somewhere around lap 20. So possibly for the final 10 or so laps we may see some rain, but we know how that goes. It says it comes and then it never does. You'll have to just bear with me on this sound as well. I've recently switched over to a PS5 and a few of the things have obviously changed, so I'll knock that down. Oh, I need to mute the telly as well. Hang on. Okay. So, while Phil, the first driver, takes us around the circuit, let's get a look at what's going on. And I guess we'll ride on board with him for the first time. As he puts on his ERS, he's invalidated straight away, unfortunately. I'm not sure if he's realised. You might want to save the tyres and go again. We've got Scooter coming out of the pit lane. Who's next across the line? Ivor is on his lap. So let's ride on with Ivor as he sets his first. Oh, Jones is already out. He's come in chat straight away to let us all know that his controller did indeed disconnect. Now, is he telling the truth? Or did he just bottle it? Has he bottled it? That's the question. I tend to believe him. But, you know, I think it would be funnier if we just pretend he bottled it. So, unlucky Jones, you know, we've all been there. But it looks like you're going to be starting at the back again. I believe it was the same last week or the week before. So, unfortunate for you, no qualifying around this track. Ivor has just gone through turn 8. And now he's heading through turn 9. A bit of breathing room. Bit of time to assess yourself. Pick the braking point around 50 metres and you can take a lot of that inside curb. Pretty much the whole car on that curb. And now steady on the throttle as you head over and through the bridge. And same again here. You want a short shift to make sure those rears don't spin up. Obviously different with our assist restrictions in here. Not everyone will have the problem of traction. Some drivers, I'm sure though, will do. So Ivor's going to come across the line first. This part of the circuit will not be on the calendar next season. It will be a straight shot from left to right as he heads through here, and this will become another heavy braking zone. So that'll change in RPM in Season 7 when we're on the new game. And is he going to get it across the line without invalidating? He takes it nice and easy, doesn't want to risk anything, and he banks his first time, a 140.167. We've got a Haas coming across, and Matty and RODO each setting faster times. Matty went half a second clear, and then RODO comes out and is a whole second clear. So that lap would have been great. Danos the same. He's closer to RODO. 6/10 ahead of Matty. I can't let my brew get cold, so you're going to have to bear with me. The two Mercedes cross the line. Smith takes pole position provisionally. The brew has gone a bit cold, but I will persevere. Needs to be done. And let's see, I kind of want to find Scooter. Where's he? He's on a lap. Let's watch Scooter because it would be nice to see his pace on his RPM debut down here. Let's keep an eye on that telemetry. He's nice and easy on the throttle. Good short shift. Gets DRS open nicely. So the top 10 have set the lap. Smith, Riker, RODO, Danos and Dino take the top 5 positions. Goran Potner's up there. Disappointing lap from Matty. I don't think he'll be too pleased with that. He's normally right up there. So he's got at least another second to find, if not more. Obviously as the track warms up, still pretty green at the minute. And as the track warms up, the grip comes naturally. So every driver will probably find half a second anyway by the end of the session. But for now, Smith's got a lot on his plate as Scooter comes across the line. Sets a time good enough for P10. Beats Ivor's first time by 0.3 of a second. And is very close to his teammate. A matter of hundredths there. 1.5 hundredths away from Snellhenk. In P9, it looks like we've got a Red Bull about to fly. No. He's just finished. And Callum puts himself up to P6. Phil, Natalie and Inorganic, the only drivers yet to set a time. Inorganic is on his lap now. Natalie and Phil in the Williams and the Alpine on their way round. Let's watch Inorganic then. as he exits sector 2 into the final sector. This track, more or less a series of 90-degree left and right handers, so very, very difficult on traction most of the time. And I saw there Spivey has been disqualified from the session for blocking the pit lane, as has Riker. Not sure if that's a game problem. Two drivers to have the same issue. Let's see then. When Organic crosses the line, it's enough for P12. It's a 140.9. Frax must have made a mistake. He's well off the pace. And let's ride on board with the Championship Challenger, one of the fastest drivers in this division, as she sets off on her first lap. She claims she likes this track and that she hasn't had a track at RPM that she's a big fan of. So let's see where this puts her. Is it going to be enough for pole position? A 138.228 to beat. So 4 drivers already out of qualifying. Puggy intentionally. 2 disqualifications and an accident from Jones as we watch the final driver to set her lap. She sets a purple sector 1. She should be okay with the traffic coming up. A little bit wide there. Through 9. Down toward 10. Let's see how much curb she takes. Could get away with a bit more, I think. And you want to avoid this one completely. That's a one-way to unsettle the car. I'm very close to the wall on the outside. It gets it tucked in nicely. And she might get a little drag off the Alfa Romeo in her head. I assume that's in Organic, getting nicely out of the way. Probably wasn't good enough for a tow there. And she sets a purple sector 2. She's flying here. Is she going to put it in the 137s? That'll definitely be the goal. 2/10 clear of Schmidt will be the aim. And most of her championship rivals thinking, well, Matty particularly, with Riker being disqualified, she'll be looking to claim pole position. Let's see how much curb is she willing to risk taking. Not enough, not a lot at all. And it's enough for pole position. It is a 37 and it's 8/10, maybe 7/10 clear of the next best car. So a statement there from Natalie. And just like that, we've got some new cars making their way around. Smith coming round. We'll watch as these two guys do battle for pole position. And I'm also going to go ahead and get the press room open, wherever that is. Did we even ask anything this week? I don't know. I think this is last week's questions. Yeah, unfortunately it is. So we've got no stewards questions this week, which is fine. It's absolutely fine. Smith then. He heads through into turn 7. We've got Colin and Bakker joining us. Good evening, Bakker. And the comms legend, Mr. Jones. Precisely, Colin, precisely. You watch us on from the garage at this point, unfortunately. It's going well for me, mate. It's going well. I'm still not 100%, so I'm flagging a little bit. And after this, I'll probably be flagging even more. But we persevere for the sake of RPM, obviously. And Smith not setting purple sectors. So unless he finds time in the final sector, it might not be enough. He needs the best part of 8/10 to be clear of Natalie for P1. Takes a lot of curb there. Not sure if that's going to have unsettled him at all. And he comes round, crosses the line, and he improves by 3.5 but still nowhere near the time of Natalie, unfortunately. Bakker would like to be warmed up Now, don't know what he means by that, but I can only assume he would like to be serenaded at this time. So I will do my best. Singapore trivia. Oh God. Well, you've caught me off guard, mate. I'm not gonna lie. I can tell you it's the cleanest city in the world. Chewing gum's banned. And if you litter, you get your hands chopped off or something like that. Since 1905, here we go, the first one. Since 1905, Singapore has changed its time zone 6 times. It's currently GMT +8. But apparently, according to holidify.com, they think it should be GMT +7.5. So, you know, the Singapore officials clearly in the wrong there. I've realised I'm not even switching to any of the drivers. What's that all about? We've got RODO challenging for the podium. He needs to find a second. As the track ramps up, as I said earlier, all drivers will find free times. You've still got to improve. You have to have a medical prescription to chew gum in Singapore. I think you're allowed mints, obviously, because they're, what's the word, combustible or something? Like, no, composable? Decomposable? I don't know. Well, I have found some trivia. I'm not going to bang it all out now. We'll wait for the safety car. But they will come along. RODO backs out. Mustn't have been too happy with that lap. Callum must have also finished his lap because he's got no ERS. Puggy, not Dino even, coming in. Danos is out of VRS. Leaky's out of VRS. Everyone's out of VRS. Unfortunately, the two McLarens unable to give anything here. Currently down in P12 and P13. Oh, and he's dropped it. Snellhang, he's got time. There's no one behind him, and he's going to nicely just reverse it around the circuit, which is quite a good idea, I think. Wait until it opens up there nicely and get himself the right way. So that is front wing damage. Yellow flags are out. Thankfully for him, nobody was around. That would have been a difficult one to avoid, I think, if someone was in close proximity. Very, very difficult indeed. We did the right thing, just stayed patient and waited for his opportunity. Who else have we got? Scooter, in the meantime, he's gone and banged it into P7. However, he's not going to get around for a final run. So most of the drivers then, especially all of those in the top 6 in the pits, and within the next 20 seconds, we'll see them all one by one make their way out of the pit lane to set the fastest laps of the night. The track warmed up, nice and ready to go. Grip has been laid down. So unfortunately, that's the best time Scooter is going to get. He's got no time to recharge his battery. The tyres will be done. So he might drop down the grid. He's less than a tenth away from Frax in P10. And I'm sure those drivers below will find time. Goran Potner is flying. He's just left turn 5 and he's got a nice little tow off the Williams. I believe that's the Williams. Ahead, maybe not close enough, but we're right on board. And the Williams nicely dived out the way there, well out the way, almost off the screen. Kieran saying my trivia last week has set the bar high. It had, mate. I'm not going to lie. There was a few things in there that I didn't expect to hear. But I'll give you a run for your money this week. I've got some stuff up my sleeve about Singapore that might have a few jaws dropped, you know, let's say. And Jones and Packer in absolute agreement that you have set the bar. That's a good point, actually. Let me Google that. Apparently Singapore is home to some of the cleanest and well-kept public toilets anywhere in the world. So that would suggest that the toilet paper is top-notch. Now Goran Potner, he's obviously up, otherwise he would have boxed, and it's enough for P7. That'll be his final lap. Natalie is also flying. No, she's not. She's about to fly. As is Smith, who's not far behind. So we'll see these two drivers crossing the line at similar times. Matty, I might ride on with Matty and get his times, because he's really off the pace compared to what we're used to seeing from him. He needs to find the best part of 2 seconds here to get anywhere near pole position. So let's ride on board with this. As he heads down through turn 1, braking just after the 100 metre board, taking as much curb as he can on the inside and the outside. And the session is over. A lot of drivers seeing the checkered flag. Interestingly, it's those who might challenge for the front who are still flying, and Organic finds himself stuck down in P15, but I believe he's on a lap as well. Matty, 2/10 up. Currently enough for P11. He needs to find a bucket load of time in these next 2 sectors. Otherwise it'll be a difficult pace for the Haas team to start. Even Leakey, he's on another lap. He's just ahead of his teammate. He's heading through toward turn 13, down the back straight now. So he'll have DRS open as his teammate follows him through. He might get a little bit of a toe off the... No, it's too far. And as he crosses the sector 2 line, he's a second up. Okay, so this has been a big improvement. This will put him good enough for P7. And he's got a whole other sector. If he can find another 3 or 4 tenths, it could put him on the second row, and that will be damage averted, damage limitation. Let's keep an eye on Natalie. As she comes around and there's a Haas facing the wrong way. That's Leakey. Hopefully that didn't set her off her course too much. Is she going to improve? It looks like she is. No, she doesn't. She's a 10th down. Smith the same. He's the next driver to cross the line. Matty was enough for P4. In the end, 2/10 off RODO. And Smith takes pole position by 0.03 of a second. Very tight margins in qualifying around a very long circuit. The likes of Spa-Francorchamps, the only circuit longer, really, off the top of my head. So many places to gain and to lose time. So to see 2 drivers within 0.03 of each other, it's great going. So Schmidt takes pole position. Great drive from him thus far. And it's a short run down to turn 1. So he'll look to get his elbows out initially at the start and hold that position into turn 1. So it's Smith and Natalie on the front row. RODO, Matty round off the second row of the grid. Callum and Dino, Danos and Goran Potner. Scooter, not a bad start. P9, good for him. Leakey dropped it on the final corner, unfortunately. So he starts in P10. Frax, Ivor, Snellhenk and Phil from 11th to 14th. Disappointing time, I think, there from Snellhenk. He would normally like to be a little bit higher than that. In Organic, last of the finishers. And then the 4 people without a time. Jones, Puggy, Riker and Spivey round off the back row of the grid, so they'll probably be starting on the hard tyres. Got some support from Backer for Smith, who absolutely does deserve the front row, deserves the pole, and that's exactly what he's done. So back to the trivia. Here we go. Across all of Southeast Asia, any of you Yakult fans out there, the old yogurt drink, if you want to find the largest bottle of Yakult anywhere in Asia, head to Singapore and get yourself a healthy family, as it's advertised here. What else have we got? They've got their national anthem printed in micro text on the back of their $1,000 bill. And the formation lap is underway. Let's get the tyre details going. Here we go. Actually, quite an array across the field. Nobody on the softs, as you would guess. But only, let's just scan that really, only a handful of drivers starting on the same compound as the driver next to them. Natalie and RODO, interesting from Smith, looking to go along at the start of the race. Will he get off the line very well, or will he open the door for Natalie and RODO? We've seen what happened in real life that one year, whenever it was, 2017, 2018, with the Ferraris and Verstappen. A slow getaway, and all of a sudden turn 1 is on you, and you can miss your braking point if you're busy sorting out the traction, for example. And then all the way down the grid, we don't find similar compounds until P11, 12 and 13, and as we expected, the 3 drivers at the back starting on the hard tyres. Good to see Jones and an organic going for it on the mediums. They look to gain some places initially. Phil could be stranded in the middle of those medium runners. Plenty more Singapore trivia on your way. And I've just googled the Singapore $1,000 bill is equivalent to £600. So imagine going to the shop and banging down a $600 bill and saying, one of your finest Fanatec wheels, please. That would be how I would spend it. Obviously. Well, I've already got one, but you know, if I didn't, that would be how I would spend it. Or maybe I would get a PSVR 2, actually, now that I think about it. Because they look immense. So, a long out lap. Some cars... Oh, God. I've got a headache, but we persevere. Some cars still making their way through turn 18, 19. And Smith, on those hards, already in his grid slot. No disqualification, though. So we'll start comfortably with some warm tyres. And let's hope we get a good camera angle on the run down into turn 1. The final car setting on the grid. We've got green flags and the lights are on. Can't really get a good camera angle, but we'll go with this. We've got 5 lights and Puggy's jumped the start and the lights are off. They were held for a while. He's sideways at the back there, Puggy, and Natalie immediately takes P1 up the inside of Smith as they head through turn 1. The Haas is up the inside of the RODO as well. And there's contact. I think Matty's round. He is round. I think he's collected somebody else with him there. The Red Bull, is that Callum? Yes, Callum and Smith off the back of RODO, colliding through turn 1. Difficult place to overtake. And that's opened the door massively for Ivor and Snellhink, who are up 6 places at the start. RODO, the only driver in the top 7 to hold on to his position as they head down the back straight for the first time. 2 McLarens surrounding the Aston Martin, and Snellhink up 6 positions. Great start by him. Those guys just in behind have had a brilliant start. Callum finds himself last. He's with his dad toward the back, bless them. He and an organic, and Puggy already has that penalty as they head through the second sector, and there's a big collision there. Callum, Puggy, what's going on here? They're all stationary. Puggy's got going again. So they're already 5 to 10 seconds away from the back of the field. They'll be praying for a safety car. And unfortunately, Callum's on those medium tyres, so he's really going to have to hope for something to crop up sooner rather than later. Natalie extending the gap at the front after taking Smith into turn 1 by 2 seconds as we head through the final sector. And under pressure, the only man to hold his position, as I said, in the top 7. RODO, who unfortunately caused that incident with Matty. Not sure too much could be done about that. We'll see. It might go into the steward's room. It might go down as a racing incident. We'll soon see once we get the perspectives. So Natalie with a 1:44.484, the fastest lap, as you would expect, crossing the line to start the second lap. Gaps appearing. And we've got Frax on the back of Scooter. He's gone a little bit wide there, and Frax might look to capitalise on that. He's gone deep again. Might be all over the back of this, Frax. as they head through turn 4 into turn 5. Again, differing lines. Yeah, great point there, Colin. Danos and Ivor, the Ferrari boys, up into P4 and P6. Can they hold on to it? Do they have the pace to hold on to it? We will soon see, as I alluded to at the start of the race, at the start of the session. Ferrari down in the dumps in the championship standings. Unfortunately, Jones up 3 places. He'll be under pressure soon from Matty, who I would guess has a little bit of a pace advantage. And he's looking to chase Riker, who would also find himself usually toward the top of the grid. So Jones in a little bit of a predicament here. He's got to make the most of those tyres. And he's got to try and get past the hards of Riker as soon as he can. He's got maximum ERS there. Needs to get some of that used, otherwise the safety car will come out and it'll have all been wasted. RODO closing in, taking a lot of curve there. Now, I'm going to begin to see if I can get this thing running, this battle predictor. Unfortunately, no. It seems not first. Aha. Here we go. Smith taking the fastest lap point away from Natalie. That will improve by the end of the race. I'm not going to keep commenting on that. DRS has been enabled then. And Goran Potner and Scooter doing well to hold onto their positions, the same as RODO. We've got a pass. Callum and Jones, what's happened there? Jones is boxed. He must have picked up damage. Phil Jones. And is Puggy going to come in? Puggy's really far behind. 30 seconds behind. Has he already pitted perhaps? Did he pit lap 1 because he got a drive through? That would make sense. And Jones comes out. I believe he'll have got a front wing change there. Okay. Who else have we got battling here? We've got Frax right up behind the McLaren. Still unable to get past. He's been here for the last lap or so. Taking differing lines through there. And Riker the same, all over the back of Leaky behind. Bit of a margin there to those 2 drivers. Riker looking to switch back a little bit. No, doesn't get it done. 2 seconds the margin at the front, and then a second to Smith. So gaps appearing at the front already after 3 laps. And Dino and Snellhenk really dropping off the pace of the top 4. So I'm going to let them lap once or twice more to get a decent figure on lap times. And I'm going to try and compare somebody like Matty, for example, to those at the front. See how his pace will fare. See if he can get himself up into the top 5 maybe. Let's say. I believe he's got the pace to do it, but it's a difficult circuit to overtake. Plenty of braking zones, but a lot tighter than you might expect. Puggy and Phil toward the back. This could get interesting. And something tells me that it's not going to end well, but I hope it does. As Phil goes into box, and that allows Puggy free. So off he goes. Riker, Matty, Leaky. 3 drivers battling for position, looking for P10. And Scooter all over the back of Ivor, who seems to be dropping. I didn't think he would have had the pace, unfortunately. And it's proving to be correct. He's dropping positions lap after lap. And Scooter, who's used quite a lot of ERS, as has Ivor though. Ivor's got nothing left in the tank. Is Scooter going to send one? He thinks better of it. Smart move. He knows he's got the pace. And Ivor's in the wall. And he's across the track. How's he going to do this? He's going to have to wait and let everybody pass. Unfortunately, then he'll have a big margin. I wouldn't go that way. That's the one. Just kisses the barrier for good measure on the way through. And it's all unfolded for Ivor. Unfortunately, might have predicted it. He finds himself down in P16, having started in P12 and gained some free positions at the start, which has opened the door for Scooter to try and close this margin to Frax in the Williams ahead. Callum very close in behind Spivey as they head through turns 2, 3 and 4. Now I'm going to try this predictor. Let's see what happens. Let's see Matty compared to Smith. Set drivers. No data. Unfortunate. Set selected drivers. Set. Doesn't look like it's doing anything. Let me refresh it and go again. Could not generate secure JWT, whatever that means. Matty. Smith. Select drivers. No, nothing giving on this data, unfortunately. So we will come back to that. The rain has got worse. After 30 minutes, there's now a 90% chance, so it's got higher. Oh, dear me. I'm going to take a cough sweet, try and make myself feel a bit better. Right. So that massive gap to those who've pitted already. Let's check the tyres. As this battle rages on, Callum will be in DRS. Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1 just yet though. Danos chasing RODO inside of DRS, and RODO a matter of thousandths away from the toe of Smith under DRS. So Danos will be looking to get this done sooner rather than later on the power as they head down toward turn 10. Equal tyres, so nothing giving in traction. Riker has got past Scooter, but drops it a little bit on exit and allows him to ride straight on by again. But he's now given Frax a little bit more breathing room. Let's see Jones toward the back. Puggy taking a lot of curb there as they head through 9. And Jones will be all over this. Looking to move up into P16, chasing the points. Needs to hold out for the pit window of others, and Puggy's made a mistake there. And Jones sweeps around the inside and now the outside and gets the job done. But Puggy could be looking to get right back at him. Not this time, he had DRS. Nothing given there. Jones has about 20% more ERS at his disposal. A few battles starting to appear up and down the grid. We've got Frax right on the back of Snellhank as he opens DRS. Could be a move on as they head through the flat right-hander of turn 6. Snellhank covers the inside. Frax looks to dummy a little bit, but nothing given, and he's driven right over the curb. And the battle between the Williams and the McLaren being shared between the other McLaren and the Red Bull. Riker gets past Scooter once again, and Matty all over the back of this. He's got past his teammate. I guess he's been let by. Matty knows he's got the pace, just needs to keep it consistent. No safety cars yet though, and the opening 7 laps and a little bit wide there by Scooter. We'll have probably picked up track limits. No penalties yet either, which is good to see aside from Puggy at the start, but he served that in the pit lane. Let's see, not too many close battles now. We had a few drivers within margins, and now all of a sudden there's not much DRS going on around the circuit. Let's ride on board with Matty. And in the meantime, we can maybe... Is this going to work? Take a look at the drivers. Standing Schmidt moves up into third place, knocking RODO down a position, which is great to see as he chases Natalie. Margin not too big, but he needs something to go in his favour to catch that. Somehow it says Natalie's dropped down into P7. Not entirely sure if that's correct. I'll assume it is correct, but it seems quite a drop, all things considered. So, oh, and a mistake there is that by Scooter. He looked very out of shape there, and Matty picks up an easy position and holds on to DRS crucially. So that's giving Matty 2 seconds worth of free air. He's in the top 10. He's picking off these drivers one by one. It wasn't the greatest start to qualifying, nor was it the greatest start to the race, but he hasn't let that put him off. Let's see what else we've got going on. Frax, the same. He's been chasing Snellhing now for quite a number of laps. Danos still hunting down RODO for the podium. And Callum, unfortunately the first driver to pick up a penalty. And Riker moving up the inside of Frax. Finally, that's maybe going to allow Matty to capitalise on this. He switches to the outside, Riker, and backs out, but then goes straight back in for him. A little bit of room left by Frax, who was entitled to shut the door. And that's given Matty a second's worth of a gain, so he's all of a sudden in DRS and doing himself a massive favour. Sorry, these two drivers doing Matty a massive favour. Oh, dear me. Oh. 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 Whoa, 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 whoa. Riker said, I'm getting on with it. And for a second there was not a car's width on the track. Thankfully, everyone got through unscathed. And Matty picks up 2 easy positions. And once again has over 2 seconds worth of free air to catch up to Snellhang. All of a sudden, looking good for Matty on these hard tyres. They won't be wearing as much as those ahead of him. And when he gets on those mediums with the low fuel, he should start picking up the pace quite quickly. And Frax has picked up the penalty. 5 seconds. Did he box perhaps and he sped in the pit lane? No. If he'd boxed, he wouldn't be there. I'm not sure what the 5 seconds is for. Let's take a look at some data. RODO has picked up front wing damage. Interestingly, let's take a look at where that damage is. He's got 11% damage to the front right of his wing, which might open the door for Danos, who's been there or thereabouts. RODO's going to be struggling through the left-handers, and unfortunately for him, it's predominantly left-handers around this track. So he's going to be feeling the understeer, and Danos could be in a position for a move any lap now, potentially under DRS if he can get a good exit. And he's got significantly more ERS to play with. Oh, and is that in the wall for RODO? No. RODO's medium tyres approaching 45%, so they'll be near done in the next few laps. He could probably take them 2 or 3 more. Yeah. Cheers for that, Colin. I assumed it could have been something like that. It was an unfortunate incident, not much you could do with the car sideways along the track, but the way he pulled back wasn't ideal. Thankfully, nothing came of it. Scooter and Riker battling still, but I don't want to miss this potential overtake for the podium places. We're heading toward the halfway stage of the race. Not there yet. Still a good few laps to go. But Danos will be looking to get the move done, and he can begin chasing after Smith potentially. Natalie now 3 seconds clear. Let's take a look at Smith's tyre wear as he started on the hard tyres. He's just approaching 30%, so his hards are in a much better position. Natalie, however, where is she? I don't see her on this list, unfortunately, so maybe we don't have access to Natalie's data. And there's an incident in Sector 3. It's Spivey who's around, and he's got a margin. Scooter is also, thought he was stuck on the curb there. 2 mistakes for these 2 drivers, unfortunately. Any damage? Matty has repaired his front wing. I'm not sure. It says part oh no, he's picked up damage even, which is not good. I've missed that. He hasn't repaired anything. Oh, it's significant damage as well. 33% on the front left wing. And Phil has picked up terminal rear wing damage. He finds himself stuck all the way down in 19th. He may choose to retire the car at this point. He's sat there on track waiting for a chance to go. He'll get a window now as the Aston Martin passes Goran Potner. Let's take a look. How bad is it? Full 100% rear wing damage, so let's watch on. Not sure there's much Phil can do from this position. Look at that, how much he's struggling through there. Not only is it a little touch, his front wing is 100% damaged, and he's dropped it again. He's going to have to retire the car. He's keeping nicely out of the way as some cars drive by. He's going to have to switch sides. You're on the racing line there, Phil. So he gets across safely, and we're going to see the first retirement. No, we're not. Inorganic has gone. He's dropped it under the bridge, the part of the track that won't be here next season. Oh, and as you come around the corner there, blind. Safety car is out, and the driver's taking caution. So, is that a full safety car? Yes, it is. Okay. Full course safety car. Just, I would say, at the right time for the medium runners. Let's see who pitted then. No one's gone in just yet. The safety car is waiting for the leader. And Phil has come back out. on wet tyres. Is it raining? Am I missing something here? And Matty's picked up a drive-through, speeding under the safety car. Phil, oh, I don't understand that decision. You've got terminal rear wing damage. You're not going to be able to turn 90-degree corners. And in the end, that's resulted in a DNF under the safety car. Questionable choice. Now, what are we saying about the weather? It's overcast, but it's dry, apparently. Natalie comes in. Smith follows her in. Absolutely no rush on getting a penalty, as they all snail into the pit lane. Oh, that was close by Danos. Sped up a little bit. I'm putting them all under pressure here as I watch them enter the pit lane. Let's see. Natalie out onto the inters, so it must be raining. The telemetry doesn't tell me that, and I'm struggling to see that. Oh, I see it on screen now. So the rain has arrived. Only a 35% chance, but it's here. It's light rain for the foreseeable future. It should be raining until the end of the race. So an absolutely great time just on the pit window for the majority of drivers, but it doesn't really matter because they're all switching to the wet compound tyre anyway. So we might have a little reshuffle of the order. So, 2 retirements there. Inorganic and Phil. So unfortunately for Inorganic, he will remain toward the bottom of the drivers' standings. Great guy, unfortunate. It's a difficult place. I'm going to guess he may be... Well, in fairness, he could have outbraked himself in the wet conditions. I was going to say he might have taken a bit too much curb and it's kind of spat him out onto the other side and DNF'd. He may well join us in chat very shortly to tell us. In fact, does he still listen to comms? I believe he said in the past he has a headphone in and listens. So, Inorganic, if you're with us, let me know what went down. I believe the wet conditions might have caught you out a little bit under braking. And it sent you careering into the wall on the right hand side under the bridge. Might be wrong though. So let's take a look at the tyres everyone will be on. No, they're not. Danos has opted to stay out on the dry tyres, and Snellheng's gone soft. Really some interesting decisions up and down the grid. It'll be interesting to see how Danos gets on when the safety car comes in. But in the meantime, it's time for the exciting part. More trivia. So, Singapore is home to the citizen who is the youngest person in the world to have passed GCSE chemistry at the age of 7. So to think I got a C in Joule Award Science at the age of 14, and this kid, half my age, is going and bashing it off at the age of 7. There's an actual law against not flushing toilet paper after use in Singapore, I believe, in public toilets. Yeah, so that's partly the reason why I'm sure they have some of the cleanest public toilets in the world. We've all been to some ones in this country, and my God, they're disgusting. When some people put an entire roll of toilet paper down the toilet, and then it just throws it all back up, and you're like, why are people like this? Well, go to Singapore, and you won't have that problem. Apparently you get fined 150 Singapore dollars, which is the equivalent of £90. So if you stick toilet paper in the toilet, best part of 100 quid is coming out of your bank account, mate. It's also home to the tallest indoor waterfall. Wow, that is beautiful. It looks like it has many levels for people to explore. A little platform as well coming out of it. in the gardens by the bay. Lovely. Bloody hell. Men aren't allowed to grow their hair beyond a reasonable length. It says long here, so I guess if your hair passes your ears, or whatever, passes your shoulder, I don't know, then I don't know how they're going to enforce that. But apparently it isn't allowed. So Danos has come in the meantime and gone onto the Inters, which has dropped him down from P4 all the way down to P14. So disastrous strategy from him, unfortunately. I'm going to guess he didn't change it in time. And then, interestingly, Snellhank and Puggy, the two drivers who've stayed out. Snellhank on fresh softs, which won't last very long, especially not in the race. We've got Inorganic has joined, and he says he's well frustrated. I was braking and turning, and it just went straight into the wall. Yeah, that's kind of what I'd expected. The rain, the damp track initially, has caught you out there. No, you're right, Wardy. Can't beat toilet paper trivia. It should be a feature. I might get a little jingle to go along with it. Military service is still mandatory in Singapore. Once you finish school, you got 2 years of service. And every year, servicemen need to return to train till they are 40 years old. So telling me they do like a 6-week boot camp every year for every man from the age of 18 to 40. That's some shit that this country needs, I swear to God. That's the way you grow a good population. A respectable population. Now, I'm not trying to bash Britain, but, you know. It's not ideal at this time, you know. You know, whatever. Oh, we finally reached a Formula 1 trivia. It was the first ever Formula 1 night race in 2008. So I did kind of already know that, but nice to see it listed here. The safety car will be in this lap, and the rain, although still falling, it's very steady, but I'm not too sure Snellhank is on the right strategy here. I think there's a chance he bins it at the first opportunity. Hopefully not. I don't want to down my own teammate, but yeah, it's a pretty tough one to call. So the safety car will peel in and peel away, and Natalie will be responsible for leading us away. We'll ride on board with RODO, so we hopefully get a good view, and hopefully we don't have too much of a big gap. There's a few seconds appearing around. Everyone needs to bunch up a little bit. Spivey, the only driver outside of a second. And there she goes. She's gunned it. And they're away. I'm interested to see how Snellhank gets on. But I'm keeping my eyes up ahead of the track. He's already got lack of traction compared to those around him. And it could cause an issue. As he heads into turn 1, he's not close enough to Matty to cause him any issues. And everyone looks to have got through smoothly. We've got Scooter, who's dropped a few positions. He's on the hards, the other guy on arguably the wrong set of tyres. And Ivor taking Puggy at the back. So Natalie already 1.5 seconds clear. But RODO putting pressure on Smith straight away. Riker the same. He's all over the back of Goran Potner, and Callum all over the back of the McLaren, who will surely box the rain, not letting up at all. And Snellhank is more just an obstacle at this point. Scooter now finds himself last, and unfortunately the two McLaren drivers picking the wrong strategy. Oh, that's very close for contact. Snellhank, it's undrivable, mate. And Callum gets past, and he's look at the mountain of cars appearing up behind him, queuing almost to just get by. Oh, and no rooms left. I mean, Danos wasn't really entitled to any room there, but he chucked the front wing up the inside nonetheless. He's kept it together. He's got to just dive him, yeah. No, he chooses not to. He would have had infinite more grip, but he gets it on exit. And we'll ride on with Frax. And Snellhank really, really struggling here. And every time a driver gets past him, they're set free. But for as long as they stay behind him, they're losing masses and masses of time to the cars in front. And it's only a matter of time, as it nearly happened there, before Snellhank understeers into a wall and causes a little bit of a traffic jam. He's cut the corner. Surely he's going to come into box. Frax takes the position. He does. So disaster for McLaren. They're likely to finish at the back again. Well, maybe not again, but on this particular case. So not good for them. Anyway, back to the intermediate racing then. Matty up to P7. He's on his charge. Let's take a look at the penalties. He's got a drive-through obviously still to serve, which he's going to have to serve this lap or the next lap, I believe. So after all that hard work, it's going to all be undone. He's probably going to extend it as far as he can to try and give the drivers in behind him as much of a gap as they can get. Natalie cleared Smith by 2 seconds. Excuse me for one moment. I don't suppose anybody fancied hearing me blow my nose, so I'm back. See what's happening in the chat. Jones has had some engine issues according to Jeff. Something about his sensors. Classic game, chatting absolute shit, but in the reality that is RPM Esports F1. Jones has been hit hard with some sensor issues there. That must explain why he's still in P12. Inorganic, working his way through the field from a bad start. Absolutely. And Colin joking, as we do, about him wishing himself luck. He might have given himself a little pep talk as Matty dives in to serve his drive-through. Yeah, Inorganic might have patted himself on the chest and said, let's get you, giving himself good luck. And as we know, that's not what you want to see. Inorganic saying he wished everyone luck and it backfired. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you wish for the rest of the field to fail, then karma is going to come and bite you in the ass. And I'll leave them to discuss their predictions as Matty re-enters the track. Well out of it, unfortunately. Well ahead of both McLarens, but 8, nearly 9 seconds behind. Let's ride on with Danos, who, although made a bit of a mistake initially, he's actually not in too much of a bad position. I believe he started under the safety car in P14. Somehow now finds himself chasing Callum. And once he gets past, he'll have a bucket load of fresh air, clean air even, to try and build up a margin and catch Riker, who is already barreling down the back straight. Well, Wardy, I wouldn't write him off too soon. I mean, it'll be hard pressed for him to get on the podium, but still 12 laps to go. He could definitely get himself in maybe the top 4, the top 5. You never know what's going to happen. Jones and Frax have switched positions at the end of the straight as they head into turn 14. And Jones covers off the inside, and all of a sudden there's Ivor. Came out of absolutely nowhere, made contact with Frax. And Ivor said, I think that's mine, mate. I'm going to come and take it off you. As both of them do the same thing. He and Jones struggling there. A lot of curb. That's going to unsettle the car big time. Needs to avoid these curves. All of the curves in Sector 3 you want to avoid. And Jones again entering the pit lane with ERS enabled. Now that is highly skilled gameplay right there. And as we've seen before in the past, you know, Jones really likes to get the wages earned out of his mechanics. It would be wrong for him to box any less than 5 times in one race. And he's going full wet. He's got damage on his front wing. That might have just been there, actually, that we caught. But he's going full wet. Will that pay dividends? We'll see in the final third of this race. Let's see, just to be sure, how many stops has he done? It's his 3rd stop, so he's guaranteed to make at least 2 more stops. Otherwise, the mechanics go home without the paycheck. As he heads around. And he now finds himself stuck in behind Snellhenk. He's 9 seconds away from the points. But are those wet tyres going to be the difference maker? The rain is still coming down. And there's not a dry line appearing at all, so you never know. He could have a significant time advantage. Let's take a look who's got the fastest lap. It's currently Smith. That's not going to be beaten. So Smith will hold on to the points for fastest lap, which is great to see from him. We've got Dino half a second behind. Still RODO. Hasn't changed position all race. He started 3rd. He currently sits 3rd. And Dino will look to change that. We've got Matty passing Frax down toward the back of the field, and it's now a Haas P12, P13. Let's see what happens when Matty gets on the back of Leakey. Is he going to make it difficult? Probably not. The Constructors champions in First Division in Season 5 last year. And they did that with a good combination of team orders and consistent racing, so I'm sure they're not going to get hung up on each other. However, having said that, Leakey closer to Spivey than I thought. He's obviously no DRS, so it's all raw pace as things stand. And Leakey now can see his teammate in his rear wing. He's gaining and gaining quite a bit, down to 1.5 seconds now, 6/10 since I last mentioned it, I believe. So Matty definitely has the pace, and this will be interesting for team orders. Ideally, if Leakey can get ahead of Spivey and then back Spivey into Matty, then that will be the perfect way to do it. But all of a sudden, the faster car, the faster Haas, is in behind, and Leakey's not going to want to give too much. You might let him by in the straight and let him return the favour by holding up Spivey to allow Leakey to pass. Let's see what happens. Nothing given yet. The rain continues to pour. Very few drivers close to an attacking move right now. Pretty much everybody outside of the proverbial DRS, obviously not literally. Apart from this battle here for P11. The Constructors champions, the Constructors leaders, battling Spivey. Points here, and what's happened there? Matty seemed to completely just outbrake himself. It looked like he forgot to brake. It didn't look that bad. And all of a sudden, he's lost a second. And trails again. But for as long as Spivey holds up Leakey, there's not going to be much he can really do. Let's ride on board with Leakey. His teammate close in behind. It's a shame that the gaps are so big. We're not getting too much racing here. It'll be on somebody to make a mistake. And very late on the brakes from Leakey. Is that going to open the door for Matty a little bit? It might do. He's gained half a second, now sits half a second behind. And he lets him by. Good teamwork. He's understood his mistake, and he thinks, well, I'm not going to hold him up anymore. Now, let's see how long it takes Matty to get on the back and past Spivey. I'm sure it won't be too long. I'm going to once again check the battle predictor, see if anything is giving. Let's do Smith and Matty. Maybe I did it wrong before. Maybe you have to do it first driver first, second driver second. Which would make sense. Let's see. No, still no data. Unfortunately. Oh well. Let's take a look at some tyres. Matty. That rear right, really struggling. Oh, and they've made contact. I'm not sure what happened there. Obviously the wet changes the way some of these guys would like to race, but there was a little bit of contact there. I was looking down, I just heard it, so it looked, that bridge section really causing people some issues. And Dino, look at this, Dino, 4 tenths. He's dropped at least 6 tenths since the last time I saw him. And the spray really picking up. Now, we alluded to it earlier, Jones opted for that strategy, and there's still 9 laps to go. So are we going to see some drivers coming in for wet tyres, and might that promote Jones a little bit higher? If there's a safety car and he can stay out, all of a sudden it'll be an absolute masterstroke. I would love to see that happen, but for the time being we continue in these conditions. The rain definitely coming down now, not a dry section of track anywhere to be seen. It's all that dark grey now, no white parts spitting up anywhere. So the battle for the podium continues. We're yet to see a driver switch. Dino really pushing. And it would be Dino's second podium of the season. He picked up a P2 in Australia in the first round, and since then has missed round 2, finished P9 and P4 in rounds 3 and 4 respectively. So he'll be desperate to get back on the podium. As for RODO, he had a P9, a P3 in Spa round 2, and then a P5 and a P8. So he'll also be wanting to keep a hold of this. Nobody will let up, and the margins are quite similar. Without DRS, it's all on this raw pace. Will one of them make a mistake as we look to conclude this, what has been quite a difficult race really? I mean, it's a hard enough track as it is, and then when the rain comes and the safety car comes out, you're always going to be struggling a little bit. Got 20 people in here, which is good to see. We've had more in the past, but 20 is always the goal. So nice to see, as I say. Remember, if you haven't already, you can go ahead and give the stream a like as we try to push on. What's that coming in? Leaky just took Matty again. Yes, he has. Has Matty made a mistake there then? He must have done, because he's 2.5 seconds behind, so not the day for Matty to remember at all. And Jones looks like he's lost position. Oh, Jones is boxed again, so we were right. It's 4 stops now. He's back on the inters. Maybe he was struggling. Not the right call, unfortunately. And he's going to see out the race, I would imagine. Jones ain't no quitter. You'll see out the race, but unfortunately it's going to be no points for him after making so many pit stops. Puggy 3 tenths behind Callum, the Red Bull, and the penalties 3 apiece for these P8, P9, P10, and the gap ahead and behind is enough for it not to matter. So this battle is purely on track as things stand. And I'm really surprised we aren't seeing any wet tyres. The rain absolutely lashing down now. I wonder if someone's going to take the gamble. It might be on somebody like Frax, for example, who has a big gap, or the guys at the back, to take that punt. Jones has been there, done that, opted to come back onto the inters, and a little bit deep there from Callum. Is that going to open the door for Puggy? It may well do. He's enabled the RS. He's looking to force himself up the inside. Callum has to give him the room. He does. And he gets the job done well before the braking zone. Puggy up into P8, and there's an issue in Sector 1. Is that Ivor? It is Ivor, but he's kept it going. He's kept it out the wall. And Leaky has finally taken Spivey. Same place, gets the job done before the braking zone. Matty's picked up a time penalty. I'm not sure if that was there before. But he isn't closing in on this fight. So Leaky has gone from conceding the position to his teammate to taking it back and taking the Mercedes finally. And he's only 2 seconds now behind Ivor, who, let's see, did he pick up damage there? I'd be hard pressed to think that he did, to be honest. It looked as though it was okay. Ivor, oh okay, he has no front wing. So, Ivor will be boxing. Oh, and he's hit the wall again. He's got to keep it in control. Leaky all over the back of this. And Ivor thinks, well, he's not just going to let him pass, but he's tried to indicate that he has no wing. And can Ivor keep it out of the wall? No, he can't. And he's DNF'd. Well, I'm not trying to say that's what you get, but again, when you've got no front wing in wet conditions, you've really, really got to be braking very early. And what looked to be a decent position for Ivor, which obviously you would have lost in the pit window anyway. But now he finds him DNF'd. And, crucially, the virtual safety car is out. There's Ivor, stranded on the left. It's a full course safety car. We have what will be a few laps of wet racing to go once we get underway again. Let's see what's happening toward the front. We've got a few cars boxing there. Is it Goran, Potner and Riker? No. It's the other Aston Martin here. No wets. Stays on the intermediate tyre, but opts for a fresh set. This is really going to change things. And who doesn't love a little shootout at the end? Disastrous for Natalie. She was over 7 seconds clear. And now has to do it all over again as Scooter is promoted into the final points position. And Jones will really need to get his foot down and get some positions at the safety car restart. I would guess we're going to have 3 or 4 laps of racing. I've realised that I left this on the screen, so that needs to go. Yeah, so Ivor lost his front wing, lost his tyre in the barrier. And Jones stays out. I believe Scooter boxed. Yes, he does. So now Jones inherits that final points position. And I'm glad this race is nearly over because I am struggling. I'm going to go and fall asleep on the sofa after this. Probably. Frax repairs the front wing damage. So he has not boxed. He must have just come out the pit lane. As we wait for Natalie to come through and pick up the safety car. Perfectly timed. So, I've said it before, I'll say it again, you know what that means? It's time for more trivia. Since we have no press room today. Singapore is home to the highest ownership rate on the housing market anywhere in the world. And 80% of the population are living in government subsidised housing. Which obviously means that homelessness is low. I'm not sure if it's illegal. In some parts of the Middle East, for example, I believe it's illegal to be homeless. And therefore they have some shelters or some small homes for people to use. Littering is a huge offence. 300 Singapore dollars, which is the equivalent of £180. And that's just for small items. Littering larger items like cans or bottles, never mind sofas and TVs, can earn you a corrective work order. This sounds like a great place to live. Just sounds like a bunch of people who obey the rules. This sounds mint. Certain topics are out of bounds for discussion in public. Criticising the government in public is not allowed. Well, that's a little bit odd, but you know, each to their own, I guess. Each to their own. Wow. The lowest temperature. Sorry, I'm just reading these out. As you would expect, it's not much going on. I hope you're enjoying them, nonetheless. I'm trying to skim through the more entertaining ones. The lowest temperature ever recorded in Singapore was 19 degrees Celsius, and that was back in 1934. So it's been at least 20 degrees every single day for nearly 100 years in Singapore. I think I need to get myself there. I mean, I am going to the Grand Prix, which is going to be mint, but it does sound like quite a good place to live. I won't lie. Hot weather, no degenerates rocking around the streets. Sounds pretty good to me. It's pretty good to me. And that, unfortunately, is the end of the list that I have in front of me. Now, I didn't read them all, but I did read quite a few of them. So just a quick recap. Can't chew gum. It's changed its time zone 6 times. 27 Singlish words are in the Oxford Dictionary. If you like Yakult, get yourself to Singapore. They offer the biggest bottles there. What else did I say? Microtext of the national anthem on the back of the banknotes. Some kid passed his GCSE chemistry at the age of 7. Largest indoor waterfall in the world. And then the ones that I've just said. The military service one is good. I like that one. Every year they must retrain until 40. That's some commitment. We've got Chris supporting his bro, saying he learns so much from the streams. He's not even here for the F1. Well, it's good to hear, mate. I'm glad you find some educational value in what we have to offer here at RPM. It's just one of the many things that we do to make the overall experience better, don't you know? So yeah, hopefully the safety car is not going to be in this lap. I've just looked at the track map. So we go again. So basically, if you like a clean city with stricter laws than the UK and you like 20-degree weather, get yourself to Singapore, and apparently you can travel without a visa to, where was it? China, South Korea, the United States, and North Korea. Not that you would want to go to North Korea, but pretty mad that Singapore citizens can go to US without. Not that you would want to go to the US either, to be honest. Anyway, let's not get too political about this. Natalie leads us across the line. Has Leaky boxed, or has he made a mistake? Because he just lost a position to Callum. Only 4 drivers. What's going on there with Leaky? He's dropping loads of positions. He's boxed. That'll be why. Has he picked up damage, perhaps? Yes, he has. He's damaged his front wing completely. 100% gone. So he is not going to catch up to the back of the pack. Oh, he might do, actually. How is the Jones, I mean, come on, man. He's boxed for wets again. But surely he's not going to make it back in time. The safety car will have to come in this lap, and Jones is only heading through Sector 3. Meanwhile, the safety car has just crossed the Sector 1 line, so Jones is 2 full sectors behind this pack. Let's check the tyres to make sure no one else has gone wet. We've got Puggy, Leaky and Frax, which makes sense. Those guys will expect more from themselves, so they want to chance it, which is good. But everybody else, the top 7, stay out on their old tyres that they've been on for quite some time. So Callum and Puggy could have quite the grip advantage. We'll soon see, but I believe Jones is going to be stranded. Thankfully, he'll pick up at least a point now. Right, safety car in this lap. Jones may just catch up because there's a lot of corners to come. Right, here we go then for what will be 2 laps of Grand Prix racing to decide the outcome of the Singapore Grand Prix. It's been a long night and all of this comes down to just 2 laps on the intermediate tyres. Let's see who gains positions. Natalie revving up those rears quite aggressively and she's steady on the throttle, and now she applies it fully as they head down again. Smith 7/10 the margin. RODO, a pretty big gap, so I'm not going to lie. All the way down to Danos is the closest guy. No changes. Let's see Puggy's traction difference on those wets. He's all over the back of Callum. Even gives him a little nudge. Puggy thinks, I'm going to have this on the wet tyres. Has it been a masterstroke? He's got the grip on exit and on entry. Puggy might be flying here. Look at him go. He's passed another one. Riker, is he going to defend the inside? Yes, he does. He moves over to the left-hand side. Says, around you go, Puggy, but he's not going to be close enough. Puggy 2 places off the start, and already, look at this, he's up the inside. And now around the outside for the next right-hander, and he's up to P6. And he's made contact, but that was expected. It's difficult conditions. Everyone seems okay. I'm going to ride on board with Puggy, because this could be the absolute masterstroke decision in these final laps. He's going to be revved up. Here we go. Puggy up from P9. Oh, a bit of damage. Let's check. Has he picked up terminal damage there? No, he hasn't. He's okay. Everything is okay. Puggy could seriously be in a chance of a podium here. I'm not going to lie. If he keeps up this rate and he keeps getting them under traction. Look at this. He's all over the back of Goran Potner. Is he going to be left the room? He dives around the outside. Looks to switch it back, which he does. He makes contact, unfortunately, again. Issue in Sector 3. Danos is gone. Both Ferraris out of the race. And Spivey as well, I believe. Spivey's picked up. He's lost his entire front wing. So his day has gone from bad to worse. But both Ferraris, Colin will be gutted in chat. From what looked like a great start on lap 1. Oh, and Puggy again getting a little bit too eager. Thinking he's maybe got a little bit more grip than he does. Disaster for the Ferraris. And look at this, Puggy again taking the shorter route, and he gets Goran Potner, and now he's got to make his gap here under the braking zones. He's got 2 or 3 braking zones before he's going to be up behind Dino, and he is flying. Let's check on Dino's tyre condition. 40% on the rears already, so not only is Puggy on the better compound, he's also going to have a lot more to play with on exit. Who's that? That's had an issue. Matty, again, unfortunately making a mistake, but all eyes on Puggy. Starting at the back of the grid, as he normally does. I'm all eyes on this, on the final lap of the race. Natalie, 5.5 seconds clear. Without mistakes, she'll see home another victory. And Puggy now has maybe 5 or 6 braking zones to try and make up as much of an advantage as he can on Dino, who again has been unable to capitalise on RODO this entire race. RODO starts where he finished, the only driver on the grid to do that. However, he does have that penalty, which I've just realised. Is it still 3 seconds? It is 3 seconds. Okay, I got ahead of myself a little bit there. But still, what a restart that was. The wets came into their own there. I don't think he's going to have the gap to Goran Potner, unfortunately. And he's not going to catch Dino. It was a great effort. I absolutely love to see that. And Jones up to P12, so what looked like a disaster not too long ago, down in P16, outside of the points. He's turned into a P12. Natalie crosses the line to win in Singapore. Smith gets on the podium again. 2 races in a row. This time he does one better. P3 last week, P2 this week. And RODO starts where he finished. Great form. And he cements his place on the podium. Dino in P4, Goran Potner P5, Puggy from the back up to P6. That's a contention for driver of the week, absolutely. And I think I'm going to do that right now, mate. Let's have a look. Big, the Pugster. Boom. First nomination is in. Let's round off the rest then. Leaky P7. Bringing home some points for the Haas team. Before we go, let's take a look at the live standings. So Riker extends his gap. I'm not sure if Natalie's points are right there. She just won the race. I'm not sure how she's gone down positions. And is that showing the all tiers there? Because no way Mercedes got 500 points, or do they? Maybe they do. Mercedes top. No, this isn't right. This isn't right. I'm not sure what's doing there. We'll forget about that. So, as we said, a great end from Puggy. Unfortunately, the penalty cost him a position at the end. But we'll skip this and we will recap the positions. So, Leaky in P7, good points for Haas. Snellhenk recovered from P13, poor qualifying, but got himself up into P8. Callum, unfortunately, started in P5. He had the pace, but he couldn't capitalise in the wet conditions. Riker up 8 places after a poor start. Poor qualifying, disqualified. Jones picks up points in the end and snaps P11 off Matty. Poor from Matty, unfortunately. He's been racing so well, and that will obviously be his worst finish so far this season. Let's just see. Where is he? Matty. He's had a P1, a P2, a DNS, and a P2. So, unfortunate for him. Frax, Spivey, and that's it, I believe. Everyone else DNF'd. The 2 Ferraris, disaster for them. Scooter on his debut for McLaren, couldn't bring home any points. And then Organic and Phil, early exits from this race. Feels like a long time ago since they were out when the rain came. So that's going to be it from me. I hope you've all enjoyed. I've got a headache and I'm tired and hungry, but that was fun nonetheless. I'll be back fighting fit next week, that's for sure, with the Monza Sprint yet to come. So I hope we get some more people in there next week. We had 20 capped off, I think, at some stage tonight. So thanks for your comments and for joining us. And we'll see you all next week in Italy for what will be a great race. Actually, we haven't raced in Monza for at least a couple of seasons. So thanks you all for watching, and we'll catch you next week.